do you have the courage? Because it takes a lot of courage. You have to muster up the courage to be in a relationship and be vulnerable, especially given the history. If you grew up with a parent or two who was preoccupied in any way and you never had that sort of genuine connection, that's really dangerous. It's really risky.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I guess that's why I like to call it skills, because I do want, and this is part of why I wrote my book, and I have it as like a field guide. So the name of my book is Strong a Relationship Field Guide, right, for the modern man, is because, especially in my population and working with men, what I often heard was this kind of question of like, so vulnerability, that's it? Like, you just be vulnerable and then you have connection? And maybe they've had experiences where like I was vulnerable and I didn't get connection, or I was.
Yeah, but what does that look like? What are the details? Because when people sometimes say I am being vulnerable, it's like, in my work, at least what I do is I slow that sort of stuff down and I go over the minute details of like, tell me what that looked like. What actually happened? Let's go over this again. Yeah, because often they think they're being vulnerable, and it is probably for them, I should say. It is being vulnerable, but it's not, I don't think, in the way that maybe, that I'm thinking about it at this moment.
Totally. Which is why I say it's a skill. It's a skill to be vulnerable in a way that invites connection, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to like what Brene Brown calls like just dumping, right? Emotional dumping. Which is different than vulnerability.
Yes.
Right? Like you said, like, and so that's,
again, say that for the audience, if you don't mind, because that's a really important piece. What's the difference between what you called, what was it? Something dumping.
Oh, just, emotional dumping. Right?
Emotional dumping. Yeah. What is that? And how is that not vulnerability?
So I talk about it in my book because I've heard this from clients where they're like, oh, gosh, I'm an open book. Ask me anything, I'll tell you. And I'm like, yeah, you're an open book, but you're only open to one page. You see what you want other people to see. But like the depth of actual vulnerability, like oversharing is not vulnerability necessarily, right? And so there are people that are like, I'm an open book. And it's like, and so the example, I'm like, yeah, you're like an open book to a certain page, but all the other pages are welded shut. Like, it's like one of those display books, right? It's like, oh yeah, there's an open book that you can look at. It's like, yeah, but you can't turn any of the other pages, right?
Okay. So this is an example of, and I appreciate this. This is not vulnerability. Open book or dumping emotions does not mean someone is trying to connect.
Exactly.
Right?